Scott. Lustful killing. It must be. I'm not even going to try those times anymore.
Everybody.
All right, well, we're going to do the open mic thing for a little bit here, and if anybody's got stories about Jim to share, or just want to cry, or shout, or talk about how great Blue Oyster Cult is in communion with Jim, that would be great. I'm not going to go on too long because I got some stuff to say later, and I'm lucky enough that in May I'm going to get to eulogize him up in Montevideo. That means the world to me. We're going to start out with Scott Heddle here. He was a member of Animosity that played with Disturbed all the time back in the day. Most of you, I'm sure, probably already know him. It's the man.
Most of them are already here. They were in the band.
Yeah, that's true, too. Is Jeff here yet?
Jeff's here, yeah.
Jeff, I didn't see you yet.
All right.
Yeah, so we're going to let Scott get to this. I know for a fact he's got many a story, so...
I didn't have that.
Let's go.
All right. Big thanks to Josh for putting this together, man. Holding it up the whole thing. It's a bummer that we're here for the reason that we're here, but if we could raise a toast to Jimmy Odegard in memory. I think he's in Valhalla right now breaking up a fight between Decker and Earl. Jimmy was a pretty humble guy. I had him on my show last summer, and we spent about 6 hours just chatting, and I think I said like 4 words the whole time. He just loved talking about metal. He loved metal, and he loved the whole scene. He was talking about elbows and knees all flying up as soon as that curtain comes up and stuff. And the one thing that I did notice, Jimmy used to always give this voice to either it was Decker or Earl, whoever he was describing, and I was just noticing this, that he would be like, be telling a story, and then he'd go into like Decker or Earl's voice, and all of a sudden it becomes this for some reason. It'd be like, so then we're going to the store, and then he's throwing stuff all over the place, But definitely Jimmy gave me a lot of opportunities. I probably wouldn't be standing up here talking to you guys right now if it wasn't for Jimmy and Earl and Disturbed and actually the whole community. It was a great community, and Chad and Kurt brought me in, so they're responsible. So anything that anyone that has to blame somebody, it's Kurt and Chad for bringing me in, because I was totally content having the big hair and walking around with my Mormon t-shirt on when they found me. But Jimmy changed things. He always made everybody feel really comfortable. He'd always have a story, whether it was a short one or a long one, and he'd always have the voice that would come in at some point in time. He was telling me about Municipal Waste, the new band that he saw out at the Metal Fest. It's like, their whole thing was they bring in the trash cans from the sides, and they were crowd surfing the trash cans, and they're all over the place. But I'm going to miss that guy. He's not only like an inspiration and an icon, but he was also a true friend. So, here's to Jimmy Odegard. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so much for everything that you've done, not just for me personally, but for everybody else in this community. Disturbed brought so many bands up, Shred Fit, State of Mind, God, everybody, really. And I'm just really thankful that I got to know him real well over the years and got to travel and hear that voice so many times selling stuff. So here's to Jimmy. Anybody else have anything that they want to say? Don't leave me hanging, folks, please. Anyone? Anyone? Oh, Chad happens to be walking by right now. You want to go over and say, Chad, come on, say something. You gotta put your plan.
I will speak when we're up there.
Okay. Oh, right on.
It's not yet. I will. Hello there. My name is Aaron Ryan, and I play with a band called Impaler. That guy played with Impaler, Mr. Tom Croxton. Yeah. My memories of Jim and Earl. I played a show with Impaler. I was 18 years old. I was pretty fucking young, and those guys came up to me and introduced themselves to me. Yeah, it was pretty cool, and so I got to meet them pretty young, and yeah, I was fortunate to play with Bill, and that's about it. I just remember just shooting the shit with them, and I remember Earl did the Root of All Evil and all that, and it was pretty cool. It's not a lot, but it's pretty neat meeting them at a young age, and then, seeing them at various functions and shows and whatnot, and then later on, Impaler played Milwaukee Metal Fest, and I ran into Josh and Jim, and kind of caught back up with them, so it was full circle. All right, thanks a lot.
All right, who's next? We only got like 15 minutes or so here. I can't see the clock at the moment, but come on, we got more people that can share about Jim. I mean, he was like the funniest dude in the world, and there's got to be stories in this crowd that people would just love. So, all right, Andy Hintz from God Awful.
Hey, thanks you all for showing up. Yeah, Jimmy, I played with Jimmy and Earl like right out of high school. I was playing in a death metal band. He showed up to some gig at the lab and poached me for God Awful and eventually our drummer. But yeah, Jimmy was like family to me, man. He was like almost like a father I never had. He was really cool. He always helped me out. We always kept in touch too. When I moved back up here, I was gone for a long time, and when I finally moved back to Minnesota, he hooked me with tickets for like Death Angel and Exodus. And yeah, he was always my confidant. Like I'd hit him up for advice all the time. Yeah, he was always great, man. He'd always have great stories about like Eric Freitag and Decker and all that and stuff. He said something about I can't really see very well. Freitag like playing Iowa. He's like Iowa, or he said some shit like that,
There you go.
Yeah, I miss Jimmy though, man. When I moved back up here, I was hoping to start a thrash metal band with him, and it just never worked out, which was a shame because I miss playing with him. He was a great frontman, actually the best frontman I ever worked with, straight up. And I played with a lot of bands. But thank you all for showing up. Really, I bet he's loving the show. Thank you.
You go first.
I'm Mark Odegard. Jim was my nephew. I want to tell you two things that you may not know. Jimmy's father, John R. Odegard, was one of the more creative people I've ever met. He was a painter. And I used to go down to Montevideo periodically and have a couple of beers with Jimmy's dad. And we would go to the VFW halls in Monty and Milan and Dawson, and he would show me these huge murals he painted. Giant murals, like 20 feet by 8 feet tall, a mural of World War II, or Korean War. So Jimmy's father was a very creative guy. He taught art like for 40 years at Montevideo. The other thing is Jimmy's mother was one of the sweetest ladies I've ever known. She didn't have one mean bone in her body. And that's two things that Jimmy had. He was a sweetheart guy, and he was a creative guy. And I think he got that from his parents.
Hi, I'm Gail Garrison, and I am Jimmy's cousin. Jim was I only had 3 cousins, so he was the oldest cousin. And I was always very angry with him as a little kid because Jim and my brother Todd would, like steal our Barbies and torture them. And so, he was always that mean cousin. And it was when Aerosmith's album came out, and it had Walk This Way in it. And I thought that was a pretty cool song, but as probably a 9-year-old, I thought it was a little naughty at the same time. And I remember going down to Montevideo and visiting Karen, his sister, and Jim, and we were invited into his room, and he played that album, and he played, Walk This Way. And I just totally changed my view of Jim. He was like the cool guy. We'll miss him. We'll miss him a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I'm Brian Hewler. I used to co-host The Root of All Evil. I met Jim, of course, through Earl, as many of you in this room probably did. And just over the years, I've seen Jim at shows, and he always went out of his way to come up and talk to me, and I'd always gone out of my way to talk to him because he's a great guy. The last time I saw him, I believe, was at South Dakota, Iron Maiden, or Iron Mummy, as Earl and him would call Iron Maiden. And he went out of his way to want to meet my kids, because my son was playing guitar and was way into metal, still is, and he just went out of his way to want to meet up somewhere in the arena so that we could meet up and got a photo. So that's the kind of guy Jim was, and yeah, I miss him. He's a great guy. Yes.
I'm Karen Odegard Dulac. Jim was my brother. And I felt like I wasn't going to get up and talk because the last couple months have been really hard. So I want to thank all of you who have sent me messages and greeted me at the door tonight with so much love. I mean, you didn't know me, but you knew my brother, and he was one unique fucking guy. I could tell you some stories about growing up with my brother, and it seemed like he would fixate on a word of the day sometimes. And I can't even tell you like an example of a word, but he'd think it's funny or it sounded funny. And then he would say to me all the time, Karen, say that word, say that. And it was all day that we did, Karen, say that word, say that again. And honestly, at some point, Jim began calling people by different names. I know I posted this on a memorial page, and a lot of people responded to it, but Jim at some point started calling me Amy or Tammy, and usually even before he died, if I called him, he'd go, yeah, Amy, what's going on? Or Tammy. And so I asked other people, like, what did he call you? Well, he called my son, Josh, Dell. He called my daughter, Kate, Lorna, or Little Lorna. That was my mom's best friend. And then, like, his friend Keith from Montevideo had some little kids, and he told me one night, yeah, I'm going to babysit for Keith's kids tonight. Oh, he's got 2 little kids, yeah. What are their names? Baby Bubba. I go, I don't think, but he always referred to that little girl as Baby Bubba or Baby Bubs. So, it's funny when I think about all the different names he had for people, and then just his vocabulary was, like, I just remember thinking, where do you come up with the fact that contact lotion becomes eye douche? But that's the kind of guy he was. And I can tell you the story. I was probably 6th grade, and there was this band that if you even looked them up, I don't know if you'd find anything out about them. It was some TV executive's sons who, for some summer, they did a variety show, and they were called the Keane Brothers. And one of the Keane brothers was born on my birthday, and I thought he rocked. He was like 12 years old. And I was fortunate enough to find a Keane Brothers album at Pomida in Montevideo, Minnesota. And I bought that. I bet I had to, like, dig in the sofa cushions to find money, to buy this album. And I went into Jim's room, and I was using his stereo. And he came flying in the door, and that needle came right across it, and he opened up his bedroom window, and he just hurled it. So I can tell you, to this day, we did not have the same taste in music. I mean, I can appreciate what he liked. I don't think he could appreciate what I liked. So. I do. There's a strong sense of having lost something that was deep to my roots, losing my brother. So, thank you, Josh, for planning this event, for memorializing him, because I know his spot in Valhalla, he's probably super happy knowing this is happening tonight, so thank you.
Couple more minutes, anybody else? These stories are great. You know that Jim has messed with you in some way or another over the years. Many of you may not know this was the last stage he performed on. State of Mind, a thrash band from the 80s, did a reunion here, and he came up and sang a Celtic Frost song with them. And I was here for it, and I was also at his first gig. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that was at his first and last show. And I feel really lucky for that. I can't believe he didn't start going until he was 27. We missed like 10 years of Odegard vocals. I mean, he could have done so much more. But yeah, special guy. Like I said, I don't have too much I'm going to babble on about at this moment, but it'd be great if somebody else comes up here. If not, we got Fret Rattles coming up in about 20 minutes or so. They're going to rock your booty. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. If anybody wants to come up, please do.
Much, but I first met Jim in 1989 at Toys R Us. He introduced himself to me, and we had at least a 45-minute conversation based on the fact that I was wearing a nuclear assault hat, and we had both been at the show a few weeks earlier. And ever since then, I was very much in awe of him at that point, and I saw him many times opening for other bands in the scene when I was just a teenager, and so I cherish his association. He didn't always recognize me, but more times than not he did, and that was enough back then. And then I met Earl, and we met him more through that. And then in 2002, I started accompanying to tours in Germany, and he was very helpful in me getting that going, because he was the only person I had known besides Earl that went to Watkins. He really helped me at that point in my life, and we had a few friends, and then hung out the most probably at Molly Tuesdays here, where he would sometimes make fun of my tight pants or parrot that meant man, and I thought that was freaking hilarious. And no one else really, I mean, I would say no one else, but I cherished him as a friend and a man that made me feel very safe in the metal scene. And no one can say how much I appreciate that. It's part of the reason I'm still here. And it was a great dude, so.
So we're going to do our Jimmy story now, just because we're here. We're the Front Rattles. My name's Chad. That's Kurt. Back in the old days, we were in a band called Animosity. 2 other members are here tonight, Hedl and Hefe. And when we started, we were just a bunch of kids who had no idea what the fuck we were doing. We just showed up. And we just playing thrash metal, and then Earl comes along, and he's like, oh, let me help you guys out. We'll find you some gigs and do this. And then we started hooking up with Disturbed and Jimmy, and Earl took us under their wing and just kind of taught us how to do this shit, right? And yeah, exactly. You know, and I also ended up roadieing for Disturbed for several years and running lights for them. And just watching them take over a stage and watching Jimmy take over a crowd is something that got into my head as a kid. And to this day, we keep that up in that kind of tradition that we knew what we learned from those guys. Exactly, we're still out there. We may be a little crippled and old, but we're still doing it. So cheers to Jimmy.
Hello everybody, how you doing? I'll tell my Jimmy story right now because we'll have to blaze through our set, but I played in a band called Impaler as my other band. This is the World Forgotten Boys. We're going to do some Stooges for you, for Jimmy. But, so the very first time I ever met Jimmy, and I'm glad to hear other people call him Jimmy because I always did, and then someone would come up and say, hey Jim, and I thought, no, he's Jimmy. But anyway, so the first time I ever met him was when Impaler first started out. We were a very young band, and I went down to Ryan's Corner. We might have been playing, but he was sitting in a booth, and he had his leather jacket on, and he had the Impaler logo painted meticulously on his leather jacket. And I wasn't cool about it at all. I went, what? That's so fucking cool! Thank you! Because I thought it was so great that somebody went to the lengths to paint our logo on their jacket. I thought that only happened in England or something. But so we became fast friends at that moment. And we miss Jimmy. Jimmy was an awesome force in the metal community here over the years. You all know that. That's why you're all here. So Jimmy, the Stooges set is for you.